Oh, yes, everybody. This is the Flex Network back again for another start sit show here in the morns. I got one Alan Seslowski underneath me, one at ALANSES Low Sky. What's going on, brother?
All right, man. This is playoff week. I got a few of my teams in. A few of them failed. I have start sit questions just like everybody else. So I'm excited to bounce them off you guys and then do the opposite.
Yes, at Shane Seeley _ Shane. Good morning, brother. What's going on?
What is up? Big week 14, gentlemen. Let's get it done.
Yes, we got CE already making a comment here. What's going on, brother? Ryan Sacchetti. Good morning, guys. Go over to our Twitter at the Flex Network 1. We got off-season content drumming up here. We got Alan Seslowski posting some DFS basketball and some season-long basketball content through DFS Army. Give DFS Army a follow at DFS Army. I believe that's what that is. Guys, this is a huge week. You know, good morning, Michael. B. Ollie, good morning, brothers. Hey, we're going to get CE. Let us know if you have to roll out of here because we'll get to your question, or both you guys, we'll get to your question early if we have to. But yes, big week, guys. And what I wanted to talk about a little bit here is recency bias to start the show. I have an undefeated team in Superflex all the way to we do a 2-round playoff over 4 teams, which I believe is the absolute best way to play fantasy football is a 4-team playoff, 2-weeker. And, having an undefeated team, I laid out a stinker last week. Tyler Lockett for 0 points. I mean, come on. It's very hard to sustain a 0 burger from one of your top wide receivers. Sam Darnold looked great over the last couple weeks. Put up a 2-pointer. Okay, so I went into Thursday night's game down 20. And I had Zeke and Allen Robinson, which showed out well for me. He had Dak and Amari Cooper, which by the end of that game with a garbage time touchdown really saved him because I was about to go up big. But talking about recency bias, I've got Sam Darnold here against Miami with the Adam Gase narrative, the revenge narrative for Adam Gase, plus the revenge narrative because the Dolphins don't want nothing to do with this guy. He's a maniac. This guy's crazy. He's looking all over everywhere. He's clearly medicated. But do I trust Sam Darnold after a 2-pointer last week, or do we just let recency bias go and say, hey, look at the production. He's in a great matchup. Throw them in there.
Yeah, I think that it obviously everything's what your options are. It depends on that, but I would have no
I'll tell
issue.
you right now my options. Kyle Allen, Andy Dalton, Jared Goff against Seattle. I could throw Eli Manning in there, Phillip Rivers, Hodges, Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock, David Blow.
Well, we're getting below the cut line. I'd say that you have the classic floor ceiling choices to make, and I think that the Andy Dalton and you'd said someone else in there that Goff represent a solid floor with some upside, and I think Darnold, given the matchup, represents weak winning ability. But I would say any of those three have an equal chance for different reasons. If it was my start sit, I probably would roll with Goff. I think I know that you're a Seattle Seahawks fan and that they have a decent defense, but Jared Goff, I think they got it back on track the last couple of weeks after that big embarrassment with Baltimore, and I would trust Goff with all his weapons there.
Yes, Goff. Ah, gosh. Yeah, you don't think so? What you're saying is Sam Darnold has no floor.
No, I would say against the Dolphins. Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I would say that there's major upside, but you saw the floor. The floor is a complete disaster. Usually the Goff and Dalton floor are probably like 14, 15 fantasy points.
Well, this year, Goff, I mean,
Yeah, he's had a couple of bad ones. He's had a couple.
Minus 5.6, minus 3.8, 5.5, minus 0.1,
Yeah,
8.9.
I still believe Sean McVay is a good coach, and I think that he made some adjustments to get that offense rolling again. And Robert Woods has looked like a superstar that we knew he was, especially for fantasy, reliable options. Tyler Higbee, the tight end, who they gave a nice big deal to, has been stepping up in the absence of Gerald Everett. The other weapons there, Todd Gurley's looked back to being closer to the Todd Gurley we expected, rather than the one that's just been a complete shutdown. So I would have confidence in Jared Goff this week, especially in the fantasy playoffs. I wouldn't want that to rest in the hands of Sam Darnold. Of course, could go sideways on you, but that's just kind of how I would play it. Shane, what do you think, man?
Listen, what could possibly go wrong in a Jets-Dolphins game, right, guys? It can just be a grind fest for all we know.
The second that you put it that way makes me understand everything much more clearly.
Well, it's just, I feel like this week there's been a lot of, okay, we've got a good matchup with kind of a meh player, or it's going to be a tough matchup for a great player. Like this is a classic, like this is a test, right? Like this is the, if you make it through this week and you make the right starts to choice, then you deserve to be in your week 15 playoff, right? I don't know.
Okay, so Shane, I'll bring this to you then. Now, again, back to recency bias. Tyler Lockett, sick last week. Ewalps, what's going on? B. Ollie, thanks for the question. We're going to hang out for Byron here, but if you need to run and want your question answered early, just let us know. But what's up, Flex Nation? Ewalps, guys, head over to our Twitter at the Flex Network 1. Give us a like and a follow. We'd really like to connect with you guys on a daily. I know I got Ewalps on there. I love watching his content here. But let's say this here, Shane. Cortland Sutton, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd, Josh Jacobs, pick 2. That's how good my team is right here. Pick 2 out of those 4 guys.
Well, we're not sure what's happening with Josh Jacobs, right? But if Josh Jacobs plays, you start Josh Jacobs, obviously, right?
Okay.
I don't know, man. Like, do we know definitively that Tyler Lockett's healthy at this point?
Right, and that was what the problem was last week.
Yeah, that's what the issue is. I mean, we know that when Lockett's healthy,
he's healthy, but it was just a sickness. Apparently, he was just sick. I mean, he's healthy as far as injuries, but he was sick last week.
Then you're rolling Lockett, right? Like, we shouldn't even have this question. Hey, so let's pivot real quick, because I've got a similar question in one of the RosterWatch chat rooms, and it was Alshon Jeffrey or Tyler Lockett, and it's standard league, so you're banking on the touchdown.
Says Lowski. What do you think?
I'm not going to tell you what I told him.
Tyler Lockett, says Lowski.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Lockett is a similar type of player to Stephon Diggs. When he is healthy, he is an elite wide receiver 1. When he is dinged up in any way, it's a problem. The guy, some people just, I know people just in my office where I work that when they're sick, they're almost useless. But there's other people in my office that when they're sick, they just kind of, you never even know it because they're just playing hurt. And I think that holds true to professional sports too. So the truth is, we don't know what the situation with Tyler Lockett. I have him in 3 or 4 leagues. I'm rolling him out there. I'm hoping that a week was enough to get healthy, enough to get fluids, drink his OJ, take his vitamin C, and let's roll. What was the other option against Lockett, though, you said?
So first of all, good morning, J Rod. Good morning, Kip C. Good morning, Chris Krantz, Jay Petrola, Jennifer. Good morning, everybody. If you guys just answered some questions, we're going to wait for Byron to hop on here to try to get these rolling. But if you need to have them answered quick, you're on the go, please just let us know. We'll get right to it. But says in a standard league, it was Alshon Jeffrey, but back to my question. So Tyler Lockett or Tyler Boyd?
Boyd. There's like you said, there's a perfect example of a player that has the floor in there. And with Andy Dalton, we like Boyd a lot here. Tyler Lockett, again, it's going to be low targets. And if there's any sort of issue with his health, it's not going to end well. You don't want to trust your fantasy playoff to that if you don't have to.
Okay, Alshon Jeffrey is the answer in standard then.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I agree with Shane, especially he's had, I'm looking it up now, but Jeffrey has had like a ridiculous amount of targets too. As I'm pulling it up right here, do you realize the last game he had a 16 target game last week?
Yeah, I do realize that. Whenever he's in the game, Carson Wentz has to throw it to him. It's like he has zero confidence, or he's just, maybe it's just because Alshon Jeffrey had him big, gangly, long limbs, and he's just like, hey, if I get it in anywhere in a 4-foot radius, this guy's going to get it. I mean, that's exactly what I saw at Cortland Sutton, which is another big one this week for me, and we'll get to that. Vinny Mancini, good morning. Yes. Clovis, good morning. If you guys need your questions answered sooner than later, just let us know.
Can we answer some of those questions and then circle back with them just to get confirmation from Byron?
I don't like to circle back because it might end up that we explode with 100 questions. Then we just we can't get back to them. So I would like to not do that if that's fine.
Right, because Byron might not be on for like 15 minutes. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's fine.
Clovis, come on, bro. You're starting Eli Manning.
You have to start Eli Manning in some scenarios. Well, in some leagues.
Maybe in super flex.
What if it comes down to Eli Manning or Gardner Minshew? What are you going to do there?
I'm going with you, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Gardner mustache. Yes, 100% would be the way to go there, right?
We're Gardner apologists over here. Come on now.
You know, this week, guys, is a very important week for all of us. You know, it's a 1 week in or out kind of a deal for most of us here. And it really matters to get these picks right. You know, the reason why some of these trashy questions out here, we have, I think it was E. Walps that talked about, he's got Ty Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, or Nyheim Hines as a question here, which I know Ewalps doesn't mind us answering his question a little bit early, but yes, half point PPR, what a very trashy opportunity. But in my dynasty league, I've had to roll out Freeman every single week, where he's been getting me about 7 points just every week, and it seems to be slipping me right in here. So says, do you like Ty Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, or Nyheim Hines this week for Ewalps in a half point PPR? He's won 7 of his last 9, and he's positioned for the playoffs. What do you think, Says? You're muted here, Says. Go ahead.
Okay, let's start by saying that Ewop, stop bragging about how many you won. Nobody cares. Okay. Now, the next part is
your record, Al. Come on, bro.
Well, he's bragging. He's bragging. All right, but I got it. Humble brag.
16-teamer. I mean, come on.
Come on.
All right. You know what? For the 16-teamer, we will forgive him. You're right. That is an actual accomplishment. Don't come up here telling me about your 10-team league, how you won 8 in a row, because, Shane can do that, handcuff and blindfolded. But we'll give Ewop some props here. All right. So really, the crux of this question is Ty Montgomery, Mostert, or Nyheim Hines, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Mostert is the nuclear option here. He has taken over, I think, Tevin Coleman's role as the lead dog, and Mostert was a track star over at Purdue when he was there. He's literally the fastest guy, one of the fastest guys in the NFL. All you got to do is give that guy the ball, and it's like a rocket ship, or like, when you click Nas on those race cars, and he's just off to the races. He's been an undervalued asset in the NFL ever since he's gotten there. And I think that he's going to be that guy that we look back and say, like, I picked him up just because I don't want to play against him. Now, it could go completely wrong for you. The floor is pretty low, but he's the one that could win you the week. So I'm going to go Mostert, and the other two guys, you're looking at, you're happy with 10 points. I think Mostert's got like 25 to 30 point upside today.
Yeah, if you're gonna get a guy out there that's gonna give you 5 to 8 points, no matter which play you go, and you're like, hey, whatever, coin flip it. Well, take the guy that has the real potential to get you 21 points, and that's Mostert for sure. For me, that's not even a difficult one, but it is a trashy one. And Clovis says, well, taking Eli Manning over Andy Dalton. Now Sezlowski just told me to start Tyler Boyd over a Cortland Sutton. So that would mean that we would have to probably give the nod to Andy Dalton here. What do you think, Sez?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I'm playing Eli Manning in any circumstance unless it's the absolute. Even in a super flex, there's wide receivers I'd probably start over him. Like I'd be, it could go really bad for Eli today. The only thing that I like about Eli Manning today is that he, the bad thing is he doesn't throw downfield at all. So forget your Darius Slayton play today, but he does dump off. Yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, tomorrow. Sorry, Monday night. But he does dump the ball off to Barkley a lot. Barkley has been mostly ineffective to the level of expectations we've had since Daniel Jones took over, because Daniel Jones just holds that ball, and either gets sacked, fumbles it, or throws it downfield. Whereas Eli will dump it off to Barkley. And if Barkley can get in some space and turn a little dump off into 12 to 50 yards, you're in business with Eli Manning. That's the only way I could see it happening for him.
Good morning, guys. B. Ollie, yes. Bilal Powell, I believe, gets the start today. Alex Kangas, yes. Thank you for the question, guys. We're waiting for Byron to get into this, but if you need to have your question answered earlier, we will touch on it now. Just let us know. But yes, guys, we're going over a lot of our personal sit starts, to which most of us do have. And I'm going to keep it going here. What about Jacoby Brissett against Tampa Bay? Okay. Now we talk about recency bias. I had the decision. I had Darnold or Brissett. Jacoby got picked up off the waiver. I chose not to pick him up. But against Tampa Bay this week, do you feel nice about Jacoby Brissett, Shane?
This week they're in a must-win. I would say Jacoby Brissett, he's a decent play, right? But does he really have the upside? I saw some stat where they basically, I think, have won one game at this point, like the last 10 or 12 without T.Y. Hilton. So that worries me a lot. We talked about Marlon Mack being back, so that does help. But, I mean, it's a decent play, but I just, you worry about his upside, right? Like, Jacoby Brissett probably is going to get you between 17 to 22 points, which is fine, right? But there's not that monster upside at any given week.
Says, now you had a question about Marlon Mack in your own leagues. Why don't you go ahead and let's bring that question up here. Marlon Mack returning off a broken hand. Okay, we saw Zeke Elliott play with literally I think like 5 days after surgery a couple years ago. So you would have to think that he can play. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of Marlon Mack questions on Twitter and in Slack, and people are really nervous about playing Mack. And here's the case for playing Mack over some of those options in the Patrick Laird, Darwin Thompson range, or any of those receivers. The case for Mack is that when he was out, Jonathan Williams was great one week. Then you had Jordan Wilkins was great another week, and not one single guy took the job and ran with it. And now you could say, hey, that guy's going to get like 35 to 40% share. The fact that it was split means that Mack likely will get his job back. And, he's not going to catch a ton of passes or any passes, but Marlon Mack, should be a good bet for 75 to 100 yards today. And hopefully he gets in the end zone and does right. I'm not overly concerned about Mack losing any sort of work that you could probably expect the regular Marlon Mack that you've seen all year. He hasn't been phenomenal, but he's been serviceable. And if a lot of people don't even have those options. I'm choosing between him and Patrick Laird. Do you guys have a take on that one?
I think Patrick that one's Laird. Tough, but I mean, the one thing that does worry me is that when you talk about the Tampa Bay defense, they want you to throw the ball, right? They want to get into a shootout because they know that they can score points. And so typically they're going to stack that box against whatever the running back is. And they're pretty much just going to say, go throw the damn ball, which generally speaking, we'd like that, right? For Jacoby Brissett, but we just talked about it. It's limited and T.Y. Hilton is out. So Marlon Mack does worry me, man. Like, would we be surprised if he ends up getting like 15 touches for like 70 yards? And just like
that's kind of
disappoints.
No, I mean that's basically what he's going to do. He's going to get you 15 touches, somewhere between 65 and 100 yards, and then you got to hope for the touchdown. But who's most likely on that team to score a touchdown? And the answer is Marlon Mack.
That's right.
Yes. Well, let's get into B. Ollie's question from earlier because I know that he doesn't mind if we answer. But Doyle last week, 11 targets for 73 yards and a touchdown on 94% snap share. Okay, B. Ollie's got Doyle or Henry. close call after Doyle's last week and matchup this week. Shane, what do you think about Doyle versus, I believe that would be Hunter Henry for the tight end spot? Hunter Henry on the Chargers last week was really forgotten about, but that was just because of the poor defensive corner play last week where Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, not only that, but Austin Eckler were just able to find themselves open. What do you think this week, Shane?
Well, I mean, we've seen it pretty much every year that Jack Doyle is somebody who can put up a lot of points in a PPR, right? Which is why this is even a conversation. You look at the targets that he's getting, but for me, I think that Hunter Henry, he's still one of the top 3 tight ends in my opinion right now, and he's pretty much gonna get the looks every single week in the end zone. And so I would still roll Hunter Henry in this sort of position. I'm just more comfortable with him as a more definitive touchdown option. So even in the PPR league, he can put up 5 receptions, get 50 yards, and be good for a touchdown. Whereas Doyle could get like 6 receptions, but for 50 yards.
Yeah,
so
and that's exactly what happened last week. I mean, he was highly targeted, but he only caught, about half those balls. Ryan Cicchetti says he's got church in 10 minutes. Okay, so here we go. Watson or Winston, 6 points per touchdown. The Colts line scares me, but Denver has been good against the pass too. Not last week against the pass. And so I'm going to say, Shane, what do you think here? Watson or Winston? Last week, I was a little bit higher on Winston just because the garbage time, he really didn't show out. And obviously, Deshaun Watson did show out and more. And we call this, again, recency bias. Okay? So what do you think here?
Well, I mean, we talk about recency bias. Like Deshaun Watson's doing what we thought Deshaun Watson was going to do the entire freaking season, right? So is it time? Is he finally going to be healthy? The only thing that kind of worries me a little bit is that I feel like, when Will Fuller's on the field, Deshaun Watson's a different kind of player. They just have different options. And it's looking like as of this morning that Will Fuller is actually not going to play this week. So that really puts a crinkle in things, in my opinion. But I would still roll Watson at home in the dome he's got 25 to 35 point upside, right?
Says Lowski, Deshaun Watson or Jameis Winston?
I would go I would go Deshaun Watson here. Don't mess around. Jameis Winston has been awesome for fantasy. Deshaun Watson's an elite option. He's been playing better. This is a great question because it could go either way, but I'm not messing around with this situation here. I'm not paying that close of attention to matchups when it comes to my fantasy playoffs, except in the extremes. I want to play the best player, and that's Deshaun Watson.
Hey, listen, guys, last week in one of my leagues, I played Jared Goff over Deshaun Watson in one of my dynasty leagues. I missed the playoffs by 2 freaking points because of that decision. Deshaun Watson put up a lot of points against a really tough Patriots defense.
And he's ready to do it again. And this is also, maybe a blessing here. Will Fuller. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. Yes, praying for a W while he's at church. Yes. And that's what most of us
I was going to say, don't make the Lord wait for your start-sit decision.
That's right.
And if you're going to, you might as well be here with us, the Flex Network. Yes.
The other gods, us.
Yeah. Yes. Gosh, says Blowski, you're really on one here. Duke Johnson with his improved passing game work this week with Will Fuller out, says Lowski. Duke Johnson as a nice play this week, sneaking in. What about Duke Johnson or Bilal Powell this week here?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is still Duke Johnson. But I can understand why Powell's the fresh name, but he's going to be splitting work with Ty Montgomery presumably. And how prolific is the Jets' offense going to be? I mean, we just don't know. Do you have any faith that they're going to be consistent? But we've all been a little disappointed in Duke Johnson this year for his performance. But 2 weeks ago, Deshaun Watson, some of the best way to get fantasy intel is to go to the local newspapers' websites, because they get these great interviews. Most of them mean nothing with the players, but sometimes you can grab a nugget. And the nugget that I latched onto was that Deshaun Watson was said that he proactively needs to get the ball to Duke Johnson more. And then the next week he came out and did that. 10 rushes, about 7 or 8 targets, and a touchdown. And I think that continues this week. He said if we are going to be successful, and they were successful against the Patriots, they're going to need to get Duke Johnson more touches. And that's in Deshaun Watson's head. And now Duke Johnson's in my lineup.
And Duke Johnson is, I mean, you could tell when he got those first early touches that he was feeling it. He was feeling it. The whole offense was ready and feeling it. And that, I mean, took them over one of the best teams in the league. We're going to go ahead and get through this here. Fuck it. He's got Powell and Crowder playing. Does he start Darnold or Brady? Brady looking to bounce back. That's going to be a tough sit start here. Opponent has James White. Also, Powell or Kirk in the flex, assuming that Jacobs is out. Who's Jacobs? Or Jacob?
Josh Jacobs.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. So let's assume that Josh Jacobs out in that second question. But first, Darnold or Brady, Shane?
Oh man, do we really trust Tom Brady right now? It's just it's painful, and frankly, I mean, we talked about Sam Darnold, the upside. It could be a shitty game, Jets versus Miami, but it could also be a pretty high scoring game, right? Like it would be surprised if it ends up being like a 60-point over under. Who knows, right? Flip the damn coin. I'm going to roll with Sam Darnold in what I like, a decent matchup. And Brady, the upside's so limited right now. It's too risky, right? It's just painful to watch. His points last week were all garbage time, and I don't know if I see that happening this week.
Yeah, says Lowski. What do you think here, Darnold or Brady?
I understand and agree with everything Shane said, but I have a different conclusion. And the reason, and again, I can't argue Shane's logic. It's spot on. It's just the matchup is pretty good for Brady against Kansas City, and my feeling was it was going to be a Sony Michel game at first, just try to kill the clock, keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. But I think that the Chiefs are going to go down there and score quickly, and Brady's going to need to match that. I think that I could see the game going either way, clock control with Sony or Brady opening it up. And this time of the year when it's so important, I think that Brady's going to have a good one. But Darnold in a great matchup. It just, at least the Brady floor is there. I would go Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady would be the selection for me there just because it's against Kansas City. They need to make a statement against one of the top teams in the AFC, a team that they know that is going to be a great game. I mean, I would be surprised if this would be a 30-32, victory for one of these teams. And in which case, give me any of the quarterbacks in those options. We got Richard Amos here. Morning, guys. Full point PPR, Keenan Allen, Joe Mixon, or Cortland Sutton. Says, I'm going to head to you first. What do you think here?
Okay, so Keenan Allen, Mixon, or Sutton, I think that in full PPR, I understand when you have usually you're going to go wide receiver in these cases, but when you have a running back that catches passes, I think that's always the way to go. Mixon is come alive lately. I still think he's one of the best 3 running backs in the NFL. It's just been in a terrible situation. I would go Mixon here with Andy Dalton back. I trust that the offense will be functional. And the other 2 guys could be better, but you're talking about 8-10 targets. Mixon's going to get 20 plus touches.
Mixon got 23 touches last week and 4 targets in the passing game with a touchdown. Shane, do you see it differently?
Oh man, this is freaking Bengals. Hey, I mean, I have to agree with you that I definitely trust Joe Mixon a lot more. I mean, his comp rate coming in was always Le'Veon Bell. So we talk about the talent is there. Do we really trust Keenan Allen right now? The Chargers right now are pretty risky when you've got these other options. And then Cortland Sutton, again, he's tied to Drew Lock. So I would roll with the running back. You just got to hope right now that Andy Dalton's playing for his next contract, right? And
but they want to lose. But they want to lose this game no matter what.
But Andy Dalton doesn't want to lose because if Andy Dalton wins, then it helps lower their draft pick to basically draft his replacement. So I can see Joe Mixon playing for a guy like Andy Dalton, and I would roll with Mixon as well.
All right, Mixon it is there. J-Rod, 1065. Good morning, fellas. Need to see Sutton is the key right here. Sutton is getting Sutton correct in a lot of these positions are going to probably be the sway pick here. Full point PPR, Sutton, Chark, Boyd, or Powell. Shane, I almost had the same question. Tyler Boyd seemed to be the answer. I guess Chark wasn't in it, but what do you think here?
Well, man, this is freaking tough. Hey, I think that Boyd's gonna have a good game, but I'm irrationally high on Boyd. I've been high on him all freaking year, so maybe I'm just trying to redefine that with a little bit of hope as we go into the end of the season. But I like DJ Chark as well. So, man, I would probably roll if it's my team. I'm probably rolling with Chark and Boyd. I know Al's answer is going to be Sutton in there, but if it's my team, I'm rolling Chark and Boyd.
Says, what do you think here?
Yeah, so basically he needs two of either Sutton, Shark, Boyd, or Powell. I tend to agree with Shane that I will not agree with him.
Oh gosh,
got him.
him.
Yeah. I mean, who the hell knows? I think Sutton's the better talent, playing with the more questionable QB. You gotta love Shark with Minshew back, and Boyd is certainly a safer option. Sutton can, I would say, with the better upside. But in my fantasy playoffs, am I trusting Drew Lock or Andy Dalton? And the question is and the answer is Andy Dalton. So, to your surprise, Shane, I'm going to agree with you in this specific case.
Okay,
so
there
you are
you
thinking
go.
Chark and Boyd?
Yeah, because like you said, Byron says it often that we have to look at our receivers as a group, and I don't think the ceiling is high enough with Boyd. You're going to be hoping for a 12 to 18 pointer. I mean, of course, we know Sutton can come in and just explode for 2 touchdowns and 150 yards. But I need to see a little more from Drew Lock before I trust him in my fantasy playoffs. This is when all the money's on the line.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
guys.
another thing too that Alex Dunlop on the RosterWatch show last night pointed out on the air was the fact that they now have a week of game tape on Drew Lock, right? So they can go and they can study some of his tendencies. So whereas last week was kind of you weren't really sure what to expect. So that's also another little added risk factor. They need to just shut down Sutton. That means that maybe double teaming him, and I think there's other options with Chark and Boyd. So I would roll with them.
Okay, Kip C. Good morning, guys. Need an RB2 in PPR. Do we dare roll out Bilal Powell over a Benny Snell? This is a Seslowski question. I knew it right here. Where would you slide Geis into that duo? So do we go Powell over Snell? But where does Geis fit in? So 1 out of the 3 here says.
Yeah, well, the reason, I've heard a lot of people talking about how they're staying away from Geis because Washington's a 13-point underdog in Green Bay, and that you could see some sort of Chris Thompson. This is the one thing that I've observed about Washington under the new interim head coach is it doesn't matter if they're losing, they stick with the run. And we all know, the 3 of us, but for some reason, the rest of the market doesn't realize how good of a pass catcher Darius Geis actually is. He's being falsely perceived and marketed as a grinder when we know that he is a very capable, if not a prolific pass catcher. So we're getting Darius Geis into our lineups. I trust him more than Powell.
What about Snell, though?
Yeah, I mean, Snell's going to, he's 18, 20 touches today, right? I mean, there's no James Conner. So those would be my guys. Powell seems attractive, but I just don't trust him. He's going to be 50+% owned in DFS today. And I don't trust Bilal Powell in my fantasy playoffs.
Ugh.
I could eat those words. It could go terribly wrong. But the question is, what's projectable? Would you be surprised if Ty Montgomery outproduces Bilal Powell? The answer is no. So
Montgomery's good.
Yes.
That's the problem, right? But if you were to rank these guys 1, 2, 3, you'd go Snell, Geis, Powell, right? If you had to rank these guys? Yeah. Me too.
Absolutely.
All right, then we got Josh Allen or Kirk Cousins for Chris Krantz. Thank you so much for the questions, guys, so far. We're going to try to roll through these here, but sometimes you need a little bit of overtime. We got Hoodie Matt here on the mic today, so welcome. Josh Allen or Kirk Cousins? Shane, Kirk Cousins and that offense need a win this week. And then I'm going to go ahead and raffle all the way down the list of questions here and combo this question with a question from, Alan Wills here. Alan, thank you. How do you feel about Alexander Madison in the flex? So let's answer this for Chris here. Josh Allen or Kirk Cousins? Here, Shane.
I'm rolling with Josh Allen in this case. I'm going to tell you why. So we know that Adam Thielen is out. We talked about how Stephon Diggs is one of these players where he needs to be 100% healthy. And when he is, he's one of these prolific guys. But I don't think he's 100% healthy right now. So when you talk about his top two options are either out or not 100%, whereas Josh Allen, I know that they're going against a tough matchup in Baltimore, but that could be a game where Allen has to use his feet a lot more, so he's got that rushing upside, and I'm just more comfortable with that, which friggin' that's so disgusting, I know, but I'm rolling with Josh Allen here.
Says, you hate it or what?
Josh Allen or Kirk Cousins. I mean, Josh Allen is any given week is a 40-point QB. I know the matchup is a little tough, but I'm
a little tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. But I mean, it was called. I love the Bills to actually upset the Ravens today. I'm taking them with the points, the 6 points that are being laid in on the Vegas lines. So I think that you're going to see the everyone's like, oh, the Bills, they're 8-3, but they've sucked. Then they blew out the Cowboys. Josh Allen, I think, is a superstar. He's great for fantasy. Kirk Cousins, great matchup, but I don't think he has the upside of Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the unique is like Lamar Jackson in the sense where he has a 15 to 17 point floor. Even if things go really wrong, you're going to get your fantasy production for him. And you're talking about, again, a guy that you could, with Josh Allen, that has 40-point upside. I mean, he led the last month and a half of last year's fantasy season. He closed out as the QB1. Right now, I think he's like QB5. I'm rolling Josh Allen here. Kirk Cousins is without Thielen today. I'm all in.
All right, so let's go Josh Allen. How do you feel about Alexander Mattison in the flex? Now hearing all of the talk with Dalvin Cook, he's playing, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if he goes 2 touches here in the first quarter. Now that actually sways the ticker for me towards Mattison, because if he's a tad banged up and they end up being up big at halftime, I think it's the Alexander Mattison show for the whole second half. But Says, what do you think about rolling him out this week over in the flex?
I'm dubious. I mean, I want it to happen. I've held on to Alexander Mattison all year in all my leagues where I've had him. I've recommended him on the Waiver Wire podcast every week, and we haven't gotten to use him at all. And the temptation is there to use him because, hey, you've held him all year, and now this seems like the chance, but I don't know, man. In the fantasy playoffs, I mean, yes. I mean, yeah, I've seen him ranked anywhere in the low 20s to RB like 36. So he's playable, and especially they're big favorites. Dalvin Cook could play a quarter and a half. They could be up 20-0, and then it's the Alexander Mattison show. It could go well for you, but it's going to take giant pair of these. I'm holding my hands like I'm holding a pair of bull balls in my hand. It's going to take a giant pair to put them in there, understanding it could go wrong. But I could see it winning your week as well. I wish I had the stones to do it because I have that option of putting him in over Marlon Mack, but I don't have the stones to do it.
Jay Petrella here, second flex, Laird, Powell, Penny, Crowder, or Darwin Thompson. He's got Sony locked in his number 1 flex here, Shane. Do we like Laird here or Penny, Crowder, or Powell? Or Darwin? Darwin as well?
The more I'm thinking about it, like I know you guys are a little bit higher on Laird than I am. I don't trust the Miami back right now. It's just, why is it going to happen now if it hasn't happened? He's like the 17th now ranked, like within this whole season. I don't trust it. So for me, it's probably going to be a choice between Powell and Crowder. And I mean, ultimately, don't you have to kind of lean a running back in this case? Even though Crowder, I don't know, I go back and forth. I'm also pretty high on Crowder in general this season. I know that the Robbie Anderson performance, I don't know whatever we want to call it for this season, has been disappointing, but he's starting to come on now, which gives me a little bit of pause with Crowder. But for me, it's between Powell and Crowder, and I don't know, Matt, what do you think?
I'm actually thinking that there's a sniff around a Darwin Thompson that should be in there. Darrell Williams out. He had 7 touches, 16 yards, and a touchdown with 2 targets. If you funnel all of that work over to Darwin Thompson, that's an 18-touch, 60-yard, 2 touchdown with 2 passing opportunities.
Did you watch that game last week? I mean, he looked amazing. The problem was it was all in mop-up duty, and I'm so tempted to play Darwin Thompson today. But LaShawn McCoy, I mean, he's going to get his 10 to 12 touches, don't you think?
Yeah, well, what about Penny? I mean, Penny has looked really great over the past couple weeks. I think they're ready to, yes, give the ball to Carson on first and second down. But if he gets trapped up with that amazing defense of the Rams on the interior, then you have to think that Penny's going to get a lot of work. Yes, again, it takes big cojones here. So I don't know that I trust Powell for it. So I'm going to go Crowder then. If we don't have the cojones to play the other ones, then I got to go Crowder. I just, against Miami, it should be a shootout. And says, would you say Crowder here? If we don't have the cojones here.
Oh, that's tough. But yeah, Crowder, he's been a favorite target of Darnold. The matchup is good. The problem is that, the floor is pretty bad too. I know people think of Crowder as having a good floor because of the PPR situation there, but this could be a Robbie Anderson game. I think the running backs here have a little bit more upside and floor, but this is a 50-50 call. Darwin Thompson's is the interesting one here because it literally you have the feeling it could win you your week or it could tank your week. So the other ones are the Chicken Little sort of answers here, and the Darwin Thompson is definitely the nuclear option.
Yeah, so see some sort of nasty stack with like Sam Darnold, Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson coming back with like Devontae Parker and some GPP lineup, and then like taking it down.
And Laird.
Just filthy.
The Jets Dolphin stack, Millie Maker winner.
Oh, you can. Can't you see it? You can see it. Disgusting.
Okay, so let's just answer definitively here. Give one answer. Stake it. Powell, Crowder, Penny, Laird, or Darwin Thompson. Says.
It's not my team, so I'll say Darwin Thompson. If it was my team, I have a little bit more risk aversion here. I probably think Crowder is the right answer for all the reasons you guys stated.
Okay, yeah, so then let's go Crowder. But let's say this. If you really need the high upside, let's roll in Darwin Thompson and be happy about it. Vinny Mancini, Powell, or Landry. Now, with the news that came out of Odell Beckham playing with the sports hernia that will need to be operated on, I myself have had a sports hernia at one point, went away on its own, thank gosh, but it is tough, and it hits you right. It hits you right in all the areas where you really need to make athletic plays. So I like Landry. I like Landry this week a lot. Shane, what do you think?
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, right now, I think that Baker also trusts Jarvis Landry. Like, unless Odell's been dealing with this sports hernia all season, I mean, he's leading the league in drops right now, with like 10 or 11 on the season. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so don't hold me to that, but I think it's 10 or 11 on the season. He's like 85th in terms of yards after the catch. It's just, it hasn't been a great season for Odell. And I think that chemistry with Landry is like, it improves every single week. So
can I ask you a question, Shane? Yeah. Yes. So do you think if the Patriots offered their first round pick and N'Keal Harry for Odell Beckham, who says no?
Well, with the great draft class that this is, the great draft class that this is, that I mean, no, that wouldn't do it for me. Nope.
How about you, Shane? Who says no? The Browns or the Patriots?
The Browns say no to that. I say you can get a tad bit more. I mean, if they're that. No, I'm going to say no.
Shane, what do you think? Who do you think says no there? Patriots or Browns? Odell for N'Keal Harry and their first.
Let me put it this way. I would I would love it for Baker Mayfield to get N'Keal Harry and a first round pick.
Okay, so
go after a lineman or something like that.
Listen, we've proved, the Seattle Seahawks definitely have proved this. First round draft picks are very tough to hit on anyway. So wouldn't you rather trade Odell Beckham for, let's say, 2 players or maybe a higher first round pick, maybe a top 15, and take the pick over the player and the potential shot in the dark? This is a question for our postseason content. Says we're going to get into that here.
Here's the thing.
Thank you. I appreciate
Matt, I just want to put
one
little.
Hurry up. We don't got time. We got enough questions here.
Odell has more on his mind than football, and that worries me. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I got Landry over Powell. I think that's a consensus here. Let's see here. Bishop Miles, good morning. Yes. For my flex in a PPR, Alshon Jeffrey, Tyler Lockett, Joe Mixon, or Golden Tate. in PPR. Geez, with these, again, it kind of comes down to our questions earlier about Tyler Lockett and recency bias here, says Lowski. What do you think about Alshon Jeffrey? Highly targeted last week, and in not a terrible matchup against the Giants here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, given these options, I'm still sticking with Joe Mixon. I like the floor, I like the ceiling. I like that Andy Dalton has made the offense functional again. I think Joe Mixon is one of the best 3 running backs in the league, along with Saquon Barkley. And who else would be up there? Probably Dalvin Cook. Oh, sorry, Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. So I think he's in that class of skills. I don't trust Tyler Lockett after the goose egg unless I have to. Alshon Jeffrey, 16 targets, monster day. It's Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, you're happy to play him if those are your options. But given Joe Mixon's there, and Golden Tate, yeah, he should have a nice day. Eli never throws down the field. Golden Tate will probably get his points. These are all great options. I wish I had them in my league, and I'm choosing between much more garbagey picks in my league because I play with you guys who are stealing all the good players in my drafts. So I'm going with Joe Mixon here, and understanding that I could easily have picked the wrong player for you.
I'm going Alshon Jeffrey. Shane, what do you got?
Man, I'm probably gonna go with Joe Mixon. I'm starting to warm up to him. Look, he absolutely derailed me in a league. Okay, here we go. We got a tough one for Byron coming on.
What's
Perfect
up, dude?
timing. How you doing?
Hey, how are ya?
How are you, boys?
All right.
Good, brother.
Okay, let's get it going here, Byron. In a flex PPR, Alshon Jeffrey, Tyler Lockett, Joe Mixon, or Golden Tate. And we got a lot of these questions, and we're going to rattle through them right after this, Byron.
Probably Joe Mixon.
That's what says Lowski and Shane both said here. Clovis here.
Well, I just want to ask Byron, don't you think that Joe Mixon's still like a top 5 talent running back in the NFL or close to that?
It's a lot of good guys, but he's still a very good young running back prospect in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's got a 3 down workhorse capability.
Do you like Joe Mixon more with Joe Burrow at quarterback?
Yeah, I like all the Bengals more with Joe Burrow at quarterback.
Yes, I can't wait for that. Robbie Anderson or Sammy Watkins?
Probably Robbie Anderson.
Yes, we've been touting Robbie Anderson all year. His end of the season schedule is a monster.
Yeah.
He's been a volatile play for sure, but drinking that B-labeled cup, Byron says Robbie Anderson.
Hey, Byron, what's your toughest sit decision in your most important fantasy matchup today?
I mean, in my most important fantasy league, I got to buy and the number 1 seed. So I'm chilling out. I know I'm probably going to play Alex in the semifinals next week. I'd prefer to play him in the finals, but he's got a good team. So really all I've done is his weak spot is his quarterback. So I've just hoarded as many quarterbacks with good matchups for next week as possible. Shit, I even dropped my kicker I don't have to start a kicker this week, so I could hold an extra player all week. So that's what I've been doing, man, just to prepare for next week.
Nice. Murray or Darnold this week, Byron, from J-Rod?
Darnold.
Okay, good. You're making me feel a lot better about my Darnold play here. We had talked a little bit about recency bias and just how Darnold kind of scares me a little bit this week because of his last week play. But are you ready to throw that out of the window and go for the Adam Gase narrative?
I think you have to. A lot of people have to. You got to take your chances, man. None of these guys are perfect. It's a pretty good option this week if you don't have one of the, top 5, 8 guys that you're sure about. There
you go. Pick 2, Powell, Mixon, or Chark, half-point PPR.
I mean, I'll probably just play Joe Mixon there.
You got to play Joe Mixon there. Chris Krantz, hey guys, 16 team, half-point PPR, Cup, Crowder, McLaurin, or Auden Tate.
I kind of like Cooper Kupp here.
Yeah, I'm playing Cooper Kupp. Yeah.
Those are some beautiful wind chimes you have there.
I got to have the windows open, man. It's nice and cool.
Yeah, I like wind chimes. I'm a wind chime guy. Some people are annoyed by them. I like them.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, I like them. It's a nice, pleasant.
I don't control the weather, Alan.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yes.
Right.
Kirk Cousins or Josh Allen today? We had that question earlier, plus this one here. We were still leaning Josh Allen. Do you reign consensus with us here, Byron? Because I know you guys have
Cousins, man. I mean, that's what I said on the show today. I mean, Josh Allen's to the point where he's starting to look like he could be almost matchup proof. He's going to have to prove that he's not before you bench him if you have to play him. But that said, it's really been only the matchup with Dallas that's started to put a hole in that narrative so far. I'd like to see it one more time.
Yeah, but you don't. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity. It's here. You got to make that big decision in your playoff week.
Dude, I'm probably going to play Cousins, man, in a better matchup at home.
Okay.
And can I just ask Byron real quick, because I got into a debate with somebody yesterday. Real life QB, who would you rather have at this point, Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen for your team?
Oh, you guys know how much I love that question, right? You know how much. I mean, I'm such a Josh Allen.
I know. That's the right guy.
Not a fanboy, but I was a truther about his scouting profile. It was egregious where the takes were on the industry. The echo chamber, people, it turns into a big circle jerk. You know what I mean? And people are afraid to go out on a limb with their own evaluations. Josh Allen was a good prospect. Probably Josh Allen right now, man.
We're in agreement.
No, it has to be Josh Allen.
And Baker is still a nice. I mean, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, if I'm a fan of the Browns, I'm still probably pretty happy with the fact I've got Baker Mayfield, but Josh Allen he's kind of he's one of those guys that's kind of the future of the league, right? Just the way he plays.
Yeah, it just seems like that's going to be the prototypical. It used to be like, oh, could this guy? It feels like in next year or the year after, you're going to say, hey, that quarterback's only a thrower. You need someone who's a thrower and a runner in order to survive nowadays. It seems like
he's got a big time arm, so even if he can continue to just become mechanically more sound, he has a future as a passer in the NFL too. Mm-hmm. If the athleticism wanes at any point, you know what I mean? So
he's a guy too that inspires his teammates. Like he's the kind of guy that his teammates want to go out and win.
You can tell. You can really tell they like Josh Allen in that building, in that locker room. The teammates like him. He has their loyalty and the respect. They play hard for him. So
it was that first down play. I think, what was it, on the fourth down when Josh Allen, basically they got the ball, he almost dropped it, picked it up and got that first down on the Thanksgiving game against Dallas. Like that cemented it, right? Like you saw so many memes and GIFs and all that crap.
Yeah, dude. He's a good fit in Buffalo too, I like what they're doing there. If they keep building that, kind of like the Ravens are building, they're going to have a window up there in Buffalo. I mean, they're having a hell of a year, man.
Yep.
Yeah, it almost seems as if Baker Mayfield already has the team built around him already, and his performance is subpar. Wait until Josh Allen gets the same treats in the cookie jar, and we might be seeing an increase.
I think the simple answer is it's hard not to feel a little bit better about the trajectory of Josh Allen's career. This is what you want to see. He's going in the right direction every step of the way, and he's surprising everybody along the way, and he was a good prospect to begin with. So I don't know. I like Allen and Baker, but right now, if you got to split the hairs, I'd say Josh Allen is on a better trajectory.
A.J. Brown or James Washington this week?
Ooh, I like both
the original James Washington truther.
I think you got to play James Washington this week, but I really like A.J. Brown this week. You're going to have to play. I think you got to get James Washington in.
Okay, this is our first kicker start sit question ever. Greg the Leg or Jake Elliott?
What's that, Philadelphia against the Giants or what is that? Is that game in Los Angeles or in Seattle?
Oh, I think it's in LA.
Yeah, it's in LA.
I'd probably roll I'd probably roll Greg the Leg out.
Greg the Leg, yes. The Seattle against both Arizona and Los Angeles, one game a year, has a field goal kicking contest. So that's, yes, Greg the Leg. Nicholas Bisco here, Kyler Murray or Drew Brees?
Oh, man. I'd probably play Drew Brees. I don't know. It's close. I'd probably play Brees.
Nicholas's picture looks like Josh Allen, doesn't it, on the screen there?
Drew Brees at home, though, right? Like that's to me.
Who's that guy, CD Carter on Twitter, who says that everywhere he goes, people tell me he looks like Kirk Cousins. He's like, dude, I just look like stock white guy.
Yeah, white guy number 3 in the play.
Pretty funny, right?
Yeah. So we had talked about this earlier. We'll circle back around on this. How do you feel about Alexander Madison in the flex this week?
I like it. I mean, it's a deep flex play at this point, but if you got to go there, I'm fine with it.
Vikings defense or Browns defense?
Vikings.
Vikings. Okay. Clovis, Phillip Rivers is on one of my lineups. Birthday stack them up with Gordon, Allen, and Henry. Okay, that wasn't a question. John Brown or Mike Williams?
I like Mike Williams this week. It might be hard to rank him over John Brown. I like Mike Williams this week. I like Mike Williams.
Breeze or Wentz?
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz. There you go. Half point PPR starting Ryan Evans, Woods, CMC, Henry, Cook. Who do I flex? Sanders, catch TMC, Fuller's out. Snell or Geis? Made the playoffs already, so.
Thank God, Jennifer, you made it. I've been thinking about you all week. I was worried. I know we got the Miles Sanders part of that equation right last week, but I was pretty worried we might have gotten the Robert Woods part screwed up for you. So I'm glad you pulled it out. You have a monster team. So kudos to you. Half point PPR, Ryan, Evans, Woods, McCaffrey, Henry. I mean, that's an absolute mega throbber. Who do I flex? Sanders.
And Jennifer, Byron is correct.
So this is down to Geis and to Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's Miles Sanders, correct, boys?
I think so, too.
I mean, he's a starter, right? Geis is going to be still sharing that field with AP right now.
Hey, Byron, this is the time of year where the people you went to high school with, I'm sure, are texting you, asking you that.
Dude.
Yeah,
they're coming out of the woodwork, man.
So you haven't talked to in years.
And when they're willing to just text me earlier in the year, now they're fucking calling me, dude.
Right.
They want phone calls.
Private time, but I guess
I try to accommodate as many of them as my good friends I go way back with. I try to talk it out with them.
Well, as we've learned, you're very generous with your time in general with people. You're generous in general. So, but the question that we keep getting is, are you getting a lot of Austin Hooper questions? What are you telling people that have like a decent option, like a Kyle Rudolph or a Waller or an Andrews, or like, what are you telling people to do with Hooper this week?
I mean, I like Austin Hooper this week. Telling them that, first of all, that's a great problem to have. If you've got Austin Hooper and Darren Waller, I've got like the world's tiniest violin for you. I'm probably going to play the matchups and the rankings at that point. If you're a little goosey, like I love, fight, go with the Darren Waller. Rudolph is a fine, good play. You know, I mean, those are tough decisions. I might go with Hooper over Rudolph. I'd probably go with Hooper over Rudolph. He's just been such a good play over the season.
Yeah, it's just like you always get nervous with the lower body injury. You kind of need to show me week
re-aggravation.
Yeah, so
maybe you don't fix what's not broken. So if you've been rolling along with one of these guys that's been serving you well, and they got a good matchup this week in a game that looks like it's going to have some points scored, or I always want my tight end from the team that looks like they may be playing from behind. If the guy you have fits that profile and it's not broken, don't worry about fixing it. And wait and see what happens with Austin Hooper. And now you're going to have two sick tight ends to matchup play down the stretch.
All right, we're going to roll through these here and get you out of here, Byron. Thank you so much for your time. Gerpender here, standard scoring, Sutton or Alshon Jeffrey. Is the rain a factor tomorrow night?
That must be the rain in Philadelphia.
Yep.
I mean, if I have any questions or concerns, I'm just rolling out Courtland Sutton. You can be as worried as you want about Drew Lock falling off. At the end of the day, they're projected to be 9-point dogs in Houston, and it's a nice stadium for these guys. It's good conditions. I think the Texans are going to force the action in that game. Sutton is almost matchup proof, and it's a middling group of defensive backs he's facing. Courtland Sutton, I feel pretty good about.
Okay, so we had a bunch of Sutton questions earlier, even our own, and I'm going to ask mine here, Byron. Tyler Lockett, Courtland Sutton, or Tyler Boyd, PPR?
That's incredibly difficult. Sutton, Boyd, Lockett. I'm probably going to go with Courtland Sutton. It's very close. I mean, I'd probably rank it Sutton, Boyd, Lockett with the note that Tyler Lockett could go bananas, right?
Hey,
by the way, I'm not entirely. I don't know what you guys have been seeing. Maybe I missed it, but I'm not entirely worried that Tyler Lockett gets locked down by Jalen Ramsey the entire game. And they got DK Metcalf to worry about, Josh Gordon. Those are big X's on the outside. Those are kind of guys Ramsey's going to go against. And Lockett's the kind of guy who might be able to shake free a little bit on a player like Ramsey occasionally, anyways. So hadn't been good though, so it's hard to trust. So I would go Sutton. Boyd. If you want the safe option, it's Boyd. But if you want the pretty safe option with more upside, I think it's Sutton, Boyd, Sutton and Boyd number 1 and number 2 there. And Lockett would be number 3 in a very close decision.
Byron, we just got a question from someone in the Slack chat that said he's been agonizing all week, going back and forth, and he's going to let you decide who goes in his lineup. So all the pressure's on you right here. In a PPR, it's Crowder or Rashad Penny.
I play Crowder, and if you look at the props coming off the sports book, it looks pretty good. I mean, you're taking your chances with either one of those guys, but he said it's PPR. I like Crowder.
Jeff,
that could be a trash shootout.
Yeah, we were saying the Millie Maker might come from that game.
I mean, it's hard to figure out what the hell you're going to do, to put that thing together, but that really feels like a game stack. If you could sort it out, it could be very, very. It could pay off.
Okay, Jeff Craig here, 12-team half-point PPR. Flex play between Penny, Golden Tate, Jordan Howard, Alexander Madison, or John Ross.
Well, Howard's out.
Starting Cook. He's starting.
I would play Madison. If
Madison
you're starting Dalvin
Cook,
I might like Madison better than all those guys anyways. But if you're starting Cook, that's a great way to split that. It's not, never the high upside approach to do that, but it's unclear you like any of these guys any better than Madison. So I get Madison in.
Oh, that's a flex right there. Hunter Henry or Griffin, Ryan Griffin.
Hunter Henry.
Cousins or Winston? Winston. Bishop again. PPR league need 1 running back, 1 receiver, 1 flex. Mark Ingram, Gurley. Let's start with the running back. So Mark Ingram or Gurley?
Oh man. Boy. I'm gonna go with Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley. Now one wide receiver: Beckham, Alshon, Robert Woods, Golden Tate.
Probably go Alshon unless we're geeked out about some weather situation.
I like Alshon. Yep. 1 flex out of the remaining: Beckham, Woods, Golden Tate, Mark Ingram.
Not Golden Tate. So this is Beckham, Woods, Mark Ingram. Maybe I put it down to Mark Ingram or Robert Woods here. And then it feels like you just probably that's a tough one. Maybe do you guys just think you get Mark Ingram in here?
Have to. Number 11th ranked matchup on the RosterWatch matchup tool.
Let's go. I like Mark Ingram. I mean, he was trending in my little DFS model this week too. I mean, it's not a foolproof play, but I like Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram, and Alshon Jeffrey for a playoff win. Bishop Miles.
Let's do this. Nicholas Spikowski, pro members, team name is We Gonna Get You Suckers. Baker, Kyler, Tannehill, Fitzpatrick, or Darnold. Sorry, a little bit choked up here.
Probably Darnold.
Okay.
The guys I'd be considering are Darnold, Tannehill, and Baker.
Okay, so I think we put Darnold at the top of that list. In the flex PPR, Carson, Penny, Kirk, Metcalf, or Debo.
That one's close, eh? Do we think
I'll probably put Chris Carson in?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna, like I said last week, even though he had the fumbleitis, got pulled out, he sure got all the work, didn't he? Yeah. So J-Rod here, I'm a RosterWatch member. Thank you for all the advice. I definitely wouldn't be in the spot I am without you guys. Keep it up. Thanks, J-Rod. Really appreciate it. Byron, you want to say something to J-Rod?
Yeah, thank you very much, J-Rod, for your loyal support. It's an absolute pleasure to be on the front line for your fantasy team, man. Thank you.
Kevin Thomas, Fitzpatrick, or Tannehill. Thank you guys all season. The pro membership is the best thing I have ever done. Yes, Kevin. Thank you.
You and us both. You and us both.
Yeah,
boy, this is a great question. I mean, I've been bullish on all of this portion of Tannehill's schedule. Those 22 attempts a game worry you that somewhere along the line the bottom's going to fall out. I know it's a lot of Derrick Henry love this week. Do you guys have the rankings up?
Yeah, but I think you hit on something so important. Shane's going to pull up the rankings, but
Yeah,
that 20 attempts per week, man, you can't chase that. You've been lucky so far, but in your fantasy playoffs, Fitzpatrick in a great matchup. I mean, you just said the key point. That 20 attempts scares the crap out of me.
Tannehill's number 15, Fitzpatrick's number 20.
So it's similar.
Close,
similar.
Yeah.
What are the game totals on these games, and what are the matchups? Tannehill's got his number 8 matchup or something.
So,
Tannehill's 5. Fifth matchup, 47.5 point over under for Tannehill. Miami in just a 1 point less over under with the 10th ranked matchup against Miami. But the narrative coming out of that game that they don't want to lose to each other. I mean, interdivisional matchup. There's a lot of gusto in that game in Miami, I think. So
I'm fine with Fitzpatrick there. That's fine. Those are two pretty solid options, I guess.
I would roll with Fitzpatrick, but news coming out of Tennessee right now that Tannehill's going to be the starting quarterback next year. So
interesting. Yes, Byron. What do you think about Ryan Tannehill getting a contract extension? Talks of it.
I'm not surprised. I'm not sure if I would. I'd be very worried this is a mirage. If I'm a Titans fan, I'm hoping it's not a big investment that doesn't preclude me from chasing another quarterback in the draft soon if I need to. I mean, there's a lot of potentially good quarterbacks coming out here in the next year or two. So you hate to miss that window just because maybe you've been fooled by a guy like Tannehill. That said, I mean, Tannehill fits to some extent he's kind of like a Josh Allen or one of these guys, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, not as appealing, but that's the mold right now. So, and NFL's a lot of times about the flavor of the day. So, you guys like Fitzpatrick over Tannehill this week?
I do, I think.
I like the idea of a DGAF game 100% by the Dolphins and let that score just rack up and just go and go and go. I just would love that.
I'm fine with that.
B. Ollie needs one for his flex. Doyle, Geis, Robbie Anderson, or Bilal Powell. Ewalp says, good morning, Byron. Good morning, Ewalps. Yes, but Byron.
Hey, Ewalps, how you doing, brother?
Chuck Olson, I need one between these three, Higbee, Goddard, or Vance McDonald.
I like Tyler Higbee.
You like Tyler Higbee, and last week, Higbee again proved strong that Arizona's against the tight end matchup is garbage. You got Higbee over Vance McDonald here, Byron?
Yeah, I mean, isn't this like number 2 matchup of the week for tight ends? I mean, he just went, look, I don't want to chase what happened last week with Tyler Higbee, but I feel like it's a very similar situation.
Okay, he needs 2 from these, Pascal, Boyd, or Kirk.
Easy.
I mean, Tyler Boyd and Christian Kirk.
Yep.
Okay, yes, we got that. Phillip Rivers or Kirk Cousins?
You got to go to Captain, don't you?
I think you go with Captain Kirk Cousins here.
Do we like Atlanta's D this week, Byron?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Jeff Craig, 1 point PPR. Eckler, James White, Penny, Robbie Anderson, or Snell?
And the reason he's asked, the previous question was about because Atlanta is at home against Kyle Allen, and Atlanta's got their full complement on offense. They've had a few big games down the stretch for fantasy defense. 1 point PPR, need a flex. Eckler, White, Penny, Robbie Anderson, or Snell. I think it's Snell. Thanks, Jeff Craig. We are a nation, brother.
Yes, Jeff Craig just dropped a comment. You guys are amazing. I'm glad I became a member. So, yes, thank you.
Guys, I got 2 or 3 questions here.
Okay, let's do this for
Trimmel.
Trimmel here, the underdogs, 8-5. Need insight for 2 wide receivers and a tight end. Golden Tate, Alshon, A.J. Brown, and James White. Need 2.
James White. Okay, need 2 wide receivers and a tight end. So I want Alshon and A.J. Brown. I don't want Tate, or who is JW? James, who is that?
James Washington.
Yeah, he's been big.
James Washington.
It's been wide receiver 10.
Got to roll Alshon and James Washington.
Okay. And then Ryan Griffin or Rudolph?
Kyle Rudolph.
Now he's flexing Powell. Does he stack Powell and Griffin, or is that too much?
It's too much.
Too much.
Pick one jet and pick one jet. Stick to that.
Austin Eckler or Bilal Powell?
I like Eckler this week. It's a tough question. I mean, I think that if Austin Eckler goes off and Bilal Powell shits the bed and you lose your fantasy playoffs, you're going to be sick in your stomach and not be able to look in the mirror in the morning. So, and I like him, but I mean, probably if I ranked him, I probably have Bilal Powell ranked higher, but ranks aren't necessarily like gun to head, sit to start decisions always either. It's a lot of time when you're staring down the barrel. I think I'm starting Austin Eckler.
Okay,
Yeah.
Byron,
Hey.
we got some quick ones quick here, then we'll get out of here. Miles
All right.
Sanders, Phillip Lindsay.
Is Howard's not back this week,
Howard's
right?
out. Howard's out, to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah, I'm wondering why people are asking this. I'd probably play.
And Sanders has got to be a top 12 option this week, right?
Yeah, I just worry about the game script for Phillip Lindsay, so I play Miles Sanders.
Half-point PPR, Singletary or Doyle?
Singletary's a safe play.
Singletary. 1-point PPR, Singletary or Powell?
Singletary.
Hey,
All right.
so yeah, that wraps up. Hey, Byron, I know that you said this was going to be the last week we're going to wrap up the show. So on behalf of these guys, man, thank you, man. You've been so generous coming on with us and helping everybody with the start sit. So from the three of us, I can't tell you how much we appreciate it and loved working with you this season. It was a dream come true for us.
Well,
Amazing.
likewise, fellas, we appreciate all your support, and y'all done a great job. It's been a lot of fun for me too, and we'll find more ways to keep bringing more and more content like this to RosterWatch Nation, and trying to find ways to feature the Flex Network a little bit more in conjunction with RosterWatch. So thank you guys, and y'all have a great holiday season, and I want everybody to finish the job for RosterWatch
Right.
Nation. So long,
Right.
fellas.
Bye,
See
Byron.
you later, Byron. Thank you. And that will conclude our Week 14 Start Sit show, guys. Hopefully we will be back next week, just us. So come on, join us, get your cup of coffee in the morning as we flex out. Give us a follow at the Flex Network 1, guys. Thank you so much, Kip C, Ewalps. Kip C says he appreciates the hard work. It's time for RosterWatch Nation to start raking in the playoff wins. Jennifer, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Tyler, thank you so much, guys.
All right.
Have a great Week 14, and let's get the job done.